Make sure everyone gets in all right. So for those of you that are on now, just so you know the format, we've got Kristen from our team, Zach's on from our team as well. A lot of you worked with Kristen already, heads up our customer success and our support. And obviously Zach, you have all met Zach, probably most likely met Zach, who heads up our sales. Number keeps ticking up. We got a big audience. This is pretty exciting to have this many people, this much interest in being able to hear what we have to say. But I don't want people to miss out. So let me just give it one more minute. It just keeps counting up. So this will be recorded. I'm going to record it, and upon request, we'll send it out. We may just send it out automatically. We'll kind of play it by ear. And let's just kind of hop into it. This is going to keep going up. All right, mic check. Kristen, can you hear me? We good? Wonderful. So thank you all for jumping on. The webinar series is something that I always wanted to do, to be able to provide our clients with more of a higher level training on multiple components of the system. By the time we're done with this particular webinar series, we'll go through the entire system. And then after that, we'll have different topics in more continued educational webinars, more connecting with contractors, a lot of good content. We're doing so much, and sometimes I feel like we do so much and not everybody knows about what all we're working on. So hopefully this will help the communication as we continue on. So let's hop to it from the beginning. Again, I'm going to start at the very beginning. And I think in order to do this successfully, I'm going to have to set the stage so that way the future webinars have a place where we actually can build from. So the agenda, we're gonna do a little bit of housekeeping. I kind of touched on that already. If you have questions, pop them in the chat, ask the questions. We're going to preserve some time at the end to answer those questions. And if we have time, we'll actually go through some of the new features that we've been working on. The overall agenda is we're going to talk a little bit about me. Who am I? Why should you hear what I have to say? Some of the lessons learned along the way. We'll talk about the model. We'll talk about some of the challenges that I've faced, that we've faced, the origins of Centerpoint, and from there, we're going to shift into sales. All right, so I think at that point, we'll have the stage set, shift into sales, go into Centerpoint, and actually do part 1 of sales. Next webinar will be part 2 of sales. We'll go deeper down the sales channels. And then, like I said, we'll do some questions. All right, so who am I? Will Riley, 34 years old, been married for 10 years. Next month will be 11 years. 3 kids, 10, 8, 1-year-old, that will be 2 this month. So that's been fun. Really, my work history, I started in construction as a general laborer, and from there I went into marketing, and then I went into food and hospitality. I started in the restaurant world, working in the kitchen, worked my way up, managing restaurants. That was a lot of fun. But from there, I would say my career really started because I went to work for a software company that was really focused on commercial roofing. And at one point in 2017, I actually left and went to go work for a roofing contractor out of Texas so I could learn roofing. And then ultimately created Centerpoint in 2019. And then we officially went to market in 2020. At the roofing company, my role as business development was really just focused on one overarching mission. And that was to create and implement a service leading initiative that was more so focused on client retainage and generating repeat business from that client list. And the way that I viewed it was really through 3 different channels. One was service, which was really, in my opinion, the face of the company. Service techs were on and off roof sometimes 4 or 5 times in a day. They were in front of customers more. That was one leg. The other was sales. Sales reps, we thought of them as account managers. If they went out and they took care of a customer and they helped that customer navigate through their roofing decisions, and sales were kind of automatic from that. And then, of course, production. We sold jobs and we told clients what we were going to do, and we had to do it. So while producing those jobs, we had to communicate to the customer. So my overall role kind of unfolded as I got my hands dirty, right? So in 2017, I started, and what I thought I knew up until that point really went out the window. I had to learn roofing. I knew nothing about how repairs were done. I knew from the outside looking in. So my first task was, all right, I got to learn service. I got to learn how to do repairs. I got to learn how to manage customers. I got to sell jobs. I got to manage the projects. Really everything about roofing, I had to learn that. My first main obstacle was, Dustin, they did about 12 million in sales when I started. They had an existing client base of, $567,000 that they did annually. My first task was, how do I extract more service from the existing service business? And we'll talk more about that. Managing the sales team and integrating the sales team's efforts in with the service division, because they had to kind of work cohesively in order to pull this off. Hiring, training, service techs. The more service we did, the more quality techs we needed to even produce the work. So that was a challenge. Learned a lot there. Figured out how to, in my opinion, really scale up service. Hiring and training sales reps. That was a challenge because, as you guys all know, you're trying to hire people and you need people that know roofing, or if they don't know roofing, you have to teach them roofing, and it's a challenge in itself. But I think our model, our simple truck, our model was simplified to what we call life cycle. We'll talk more about that in detail, but we had a very simple approach to selling. And that was something that we could train a new sales rep, and day one, have them go out into the marketplace and bring us opportunities that ultimately benefited the company. Building systems that were repeatable and consistent. That's a challenge. Figured out how to do it. Best practices that we actually acquired from other contractors. And I actually had, one of my roles was corporate accounts. So we sold accounts and I managed them, like Brinker and Steak and Shake, other national footprints. And of course, we couldn't do all the work. So we would reach out to another contractor in another state, have them do an inspection report. I would take it to the client, they'd make decisions, and then go back to the contractor would do the work. And we did that a lot. So working with these other contractors really helped us develop our company, our roofing business. I put this slide together to show roofing sales. So when I started in 2017, like I said, this contractor did 12 million in sales, 567,000 in existing service. I started in August or September of 17. Didn't have much time left in the year. But in 2018, we did 1.5 million based on what I was able to put in place. And there's a direct correlation between the amount of service that you have, that you do, and the amount of overall sales that you can extract or get. So 2018, 1.5 million, and we did 17.9 million in total sales. 2019, second full year doing it, 2.2 million in service, and then the replacement shot up. Total revenue, 24.7 million. Well, we all know what happened in 2020, COVID hit. Service still increased, 2.8 million. Total sales were 20 million. And I was out of the picture at this point. So 2019, I'm building Centerpoint. I'm still at the roofing company. I left, replaced myself. So I'm out all the way 2020. That's when we launched Centerpoint. So obviously COVID was an impact, 20 million total sales. Now 21, I looked at the numbers because they're a user, 3.8 million in service based on the model that I put in place at this contractor. And they had 22 million in sales overall. So again, that's just to demonstrate the correlation between the service work that you do and the amount of sales that you can extract from that service work. And I wouldn't say it's the same across the board, certainly not. Just because you do X amount in service doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get X amount in replacements or negotiated work. But if you take care of that service client base, really take care of them and be there when they need it, provide value, help guide them through their roofing decisions, you should obtain that client forever. and be around for the bigger ticket items in the long haul. And that's what we saw work. So what's this model? Why do we talk about the model? You've heard it from our team, you've heard it from me. Well, the model is really this life cycle approach coupled with service agreements. And that derived from my role at the roofing company. And it had a massive impact on what Centerpoint is. Centerpoint isn't just one size fits all. There's a baseline model in it, but we tailor the rest of the system to fit your business. But this whole mindset was really focused on shifting the entire team's mindset towards a different mentality, focused on retaining clients, extracting repeat business from that client base, and at the end of the day, helping the customers. If you help your customer, let's say you do an inspection, you reviewed the results with your client, and you're doing the right thing, money just is automatic from that type of relationship. So that's what we built the business on. We call it the life cycle approach 2.0. This is just to comment on some of the challenges. I put this on here because we all face it. Hiring people, that's a challenge. You know, who do we get? What are we looking for? What's the role? Managing these people. You got to train them on, you know, something, right? You got to train them on roofing, you train them on your system, your infrastructure. The biggest challenge is replacing yourself. You know, you build a division, you build a company, and you want to replace yourself out of that role. That is a challenge in itself. But this may perhaps be future webinar topics that we feel we've gathered some good tips and tricks on. So I wanted to include that. Next, what worked? So at the roofing company, when I look back, what worked? Well, a lot of things worked, but these stood out to me. When I first joined, there was 6 sales reps, and they were all compensated based on one thing, and that was to sell new roofs. Well, why the heck are they going to want to sell service, right? Their compensation only revolves around selling big jobs. So what we did is we shifted that and we said, all right, you're going to get 5% off of service work that you sell. And not only that, but you'll get it perpetually, so long as you manage the account. If a sales rep brought us an account and they took care of it and they always did the right thing, they would forever get commissioned on this service that resulted. But that was a major win. And on the service side, I used the service techs to extract more work out of existing work orders. And in order to pull that off, we needed the service guys to be motivated to even want to do that. Why would I want to look around for more repairs? But if we gave them a small spiff, they certainly would want to do it, even though it helped me fill their schedule. It helped me help them and help the company. It was a win all around. We want everyone in the company to be motivated to perform their jobs in the interest of the company. And that makes sense. The other thing is a consistent message. So as we evolved our talk tracks to become more life cycle oriented, meaning when you look at a building or you look at a prospect or you're talking with someone you'd like to do business with, the talk track was really, Mr. Customer, our focus isn't just on selling you a new roof or selling you a service job. We're focused on the entire lifespan of your roof system, from when your roof is put on throughout the warranty period, beyond, making it last, and ultimately as a replacement. We don't lead with the replacement, but we needed that to be the message. Whether you talk to someone in service, you talk to someone in sales, that was our unified message. So we'll call it the elevator pitch. Everybody needed to learn that, and that was really successful. Having a way to track the results. So from a company-wide effort, the company has a book of business, and we need to be able to look at that and see where the customers fall within the sales process, the sales cycle. So getting them to input them, the reps, the service techs, the project managers, all to input what they do every day. The follow-ups, the touch points, the quotes. Obviously, that's really, really important. And then I put highlight success when you got one rep killing it, show the others. I have a case example of a rep that I brought on in early 2019. I think it was at the end of 2019, really towards my last days there. But I spent a few months with this rep, younger guy, Ben Johnson. and he had zero roofing experience. Likable guy. I think he came from like a magazine, sports magazine company or something like that. Likable guy. I taught him this life cycle philosophy in that if you go out and you do these inspections this specific way, and then you review it with your client, the sales will become automatic. That and you're selling service agreements, and then just take care of these accounts. Year one, he did not good. He did just under $1 million in sales. Year two, all those clients from year one popped. He did $7.5 million in sales year two. A rep that knew nothing about roofing, just following this model. And what I mean by highlighting success is sharing that story with the other sales reps to help them. So that was something that was successful. The birth of Centerpoint. So obviously we're making a lot of changes to the business. We're refining our processes. We're figuring out who we are. Really, when we looked out, there wasn't a single software provider that allowed us to do the national account business, run the life cycle approach, do the inspections the way we want to do the service tickets the way that we want to do it, and communicate with the customers the way that we want to communicate. So we were building Centerpoint in 2019, and initially it wasn't even going to go to market. It was just to run the company. But while working with other contractors nationwide, it seemed like the right thing to do. This needed to go to market, right? It brought out a passion in all of us. Again, corporate accounts being a big driver in that. But enough about that. Let's kind of switch into sales. All right, and that's what this webinar is really about. And again, I felt that was necessary to set the table to even get to this point. So the sales cycle, and our philosophy is that all of you guys on the call could look into your book of business and place your clients in one of these buckets. All right, prospects. These are people that we want to do business with. They're the ideal fit. We'd love to be their roofing contractor. Fill that bucket. Buildings we've been on, that we've done some form of report. We've inspected it. We've got several in that bucket. We have people that we've sold something to. It could be a small repair, it could be a large repair, it could be anything that we run through service. And even a small transaction to a new prospect is really significant. And a lot of people look the other way when you encounter this. But if you think about it, you go to a new building, a new client, you've not done business with them, you put this report together, and it's got just a replacement on it, and they don't elect to do the project. Well, if you were to have some smaller ticket items on that same bid, perhaps a repair for a leak or something, and they were able to do that, you are now set up in their system as a vendor, and they're set up in your system as a vendor. So guess what? In 3 months from now, when they get a heavy rainfall, they go to their system and they search for a roofing contractor. You're now in their system and are poised to do business moving forward. But really, all of the customers that fall within the repair bucket, hopefully from there transition into becoming a budget customer, meaning they've planned for their upcoming re-roof project, and we positioned ourselves well enough to be the top runners to earn that work. And then the last bucket being replace. We've sold capital work to this client. They're a customer, right? And we want to progress all of our prospects forward through this sales cycle. And our hopes would be that through Centerpoint, you're able to see exactly where your customers are within these buckets, and not only see, but manage the forward progression. It's really easy to let things fall through the wayside. But as long as we're setting up that opportunity in Centerpoint and we're checking in on it, we're progressing it, we're going to see some results directly from that. Sales rep tasks. This may be a little basic, but hear me out. The reps' tasks are to call people, go out, do drops, cultivate new business contacts, right? When you hire a new sales rep, they don't have people calling them. The phone's not ringing. They need to make it ring. Yeah, you could assign them a book of business and that's fine too, but still they need to do calls. They need to go out and do drops to get business contacts, and they need to follow up until they get a meeting. They meet with prospects. The whole intent of the meeting is to portray your company's value and to get on their roof. Meetings should lead to inspections. An inspection, in my opinion, should be an honest evaluation of the current conditions. What are all the repairs that are leaking now? What are all the future proactive repairs? And what does this roof cost from a budget standpoint to replace it? Bring that to the client and then help them decide from there. Inspections lead to quotes, service quotes, re-roof quotes. Quotes lead to sold jobs, of course. So when you're looking at your battle stats report, sales report in Centerpoint, and you don't see sold jobs, you look for quotes. If you don't see quotes, you look for inspections. If you don't see inspections, you're looking at the beginning activities that lead to inspections. Centerpoint does this extraordinarily well. I think in like 2017, they were doing $480 million, which is like a lot, right? How does Centerpoint go into your backyard and you never know they're there, and they extract $400-500 million out of the negotiated market? Well, now you know what they're doing. They just broke $1 billion. They went into 2018 and said, we are going to do $650 million this year. How did they do that? They know that each rep needs to conduct X amount of calls. They need to be on X amount of roofs. They need to deliver X amount of repair quotes and replacement quotes weekly, period. And the reps would get emailed. I've actually talked to these guys before. The sales reps would get a scorecard emailed to them with their ranking company-wide. And it's a little aggressive, I think, but the principle still applies, and the basic philosophy on how to get from no leads to sold jobs. There is a basic workflow in Centerpoint that I want to just try to articulate. The workflow is any opportunity that comes into your company, which would be any chance you have to potentially sell something. I would say start that as an opportunity. That opportunity is pending up until a certain point, and it's either going to move down a service path or it's going to move down a project path. So the sales process starts at one point, right? Let's say we have a new lead. We've qualified it. We've looked at the property. We've deemed this a service prospect or a re-roof prospect. And then your workflow is set up to allow you to quote the job, to sell the job, and convert it into a new work order and produce it. That's the service path. Or you go down the project path. We need, to generate a quote, sell it, new project, and then it goes all the way through to close down on the project side. This is the basic underlying structure, I should say. Here's an example of a workflow. These could be as complicated as you want them to be. Don't advise that you should make it complicated, or they could be really simple. But here's an example. This particular contractor, when they create a new opportunity, it's either A, we're going to go out and look at it, or B, it's a bid job. If it's a bid job, they're going to set the bid date. They're going to estimate the job that could get canceled. They're going to review the bid, it could get canceled. They're going to deliver it, and it's either accepted, declined, or they got to rebid it. And you can go through that loop again. And that's specific, that path is specific to bid work. All other negotiated work goes down these paths. So site inspection, that could be production. Well, I got to measure the job. I got to estimate the job, quote the job, sell it, new project. And then service, we got to quote the repairs. We got to sell it, creates a new service ticket. I would challenge each of you to kind of think through, if you haven't done this already, your company's workflow, and we'll work with you to set yours up. Because when yours is set up, your opportunity dashboard becomes so much more useful based on being able to just pull jobs in a certain stage or status. And that's what we want to do ultimately. All right, let me switch gears, because now I'm going to actually go into Centerpoint